When I started my DIY skincare journey over 15 years ago, acne was my number one problem. I tried every oil, butter, extract, botanical, and essential oil the internet said would help, but I was still breaking out, and when those pimples eventually did heal, they'd often leave scars. When I finally figured out what I was doing wrong, I literally had fewer breakouts overnight. Existing blemishes healed faster, and my skin was glowing. So today, I'm sharing the DIY face serum that I wish I'd had 15 years ago. It can help boost healing, reduce breakouts, and plump up fine lines, just leaving your skin hydrated and glowing. The big thing my skin was missing back then was hydration. So this serum stars several fantastic humectants to help our skin be its healthiest, happiest self. We'll begin by weighing out the ingredients. I'm making a 200-gram batch today, which will fill 4 of these 50 milliliter or 1.69 fluid ounce bottles. Plenty for you and for sharing, if you're feeling generous. We'll start with our star hydrating ingredient. You'll need 60 grams of a 1% hyaluronic acid stock solution. Mine is made from low molecular weight hyaluronic acid, but you can use a different weight or even a blend of different weights if that's what you have. If your hyaluronic acid is a dry white powder, you'll need to turn it into a stock solution first, and I have linked to my video on how to do that in the description box below. For even more hydrating goodness, weigh out 6 grams sodium lactate. Mine is a 60% solution in water. If your sodium lactate is a powder, you'll need 3.6 grams of the powder and 2.4 grams distilled water. 10 grams of Propanediol 1,3 further boosts the hydrating awesomeness of the formulation because I was not kidding about combating dehydrated skin. This ingredient also does a second really important and sort of unexpected job, but more on that later. These next 2 ingredients are longtime favorites of mine for their skin-soothing, healing-boosting awesomeness. You'll need 8 grams powdered panthenol, also known as vitamin B5, and 0.6 grams allantoin. Just 0.4 grams of soft or clear xanthan gum adds a bit of body to the serum so it feels rich and serum-y rather than thin and watery. To reduce stickiness and give the serum a more luxurious feel, you'll need 2 grams PEG-8 Dimethicone. This is the hardest to source ingredient in the formulation, but thankfully you don't need it. If you don't have it, you can replace it with more distilled water, though that will change the finished product, and I'll show you how later in the video. 2 grams of Optiphen Plus to preserve the serum, and 111 grams of distilled water rounds everything off. Now it's time to turn all of this into a serum. And there's a specific order and way to mixing everything together so we don't end up with a clumpy, separated, boogery mess. Grab a beaker or measuring cup that's large enough to hold the whole batch and begin by combining the Propanediol and Optiphen Plus. This is where the Propanediol does that second important job I mentioned earlier. Optiphen Plus is a blend of phenoxyethanol, caprylyl glycol, and sorbic acid. And neither phenoxyethanol or caprylyl glycol are very water soluble. This is just a couple drops of Optiphen Plus mixed with plain water, and you can see it floats to the surface pretty quickly, forming a rather gross sort of boogery film. Ugh. Since the serum is almost entirely water, the Optiphen Plus needs some help to mix in properly, and that's where the Propanediol comes in. Phenoxyethanol and caprylyl glycol are miscible in Propanediol, and Propanediol is water soluble. So by mixing the Optiphen Plus with enough Propanediol before then adding any water, everything mixes together. If you want to learn a lot more about this, please read the free partner blog post. You'll find it linked in the description box below. Up next, to ensure a smooth, finished serum, add the PEG-8 Dimethicone and xanthan gum and stir to combine. By predispersing the xanthan gum in some liquid ingredients that don't contain any water, it is able to really spread out nicely into lots of little tiny bits so it can then hydrate evenly and easily rather than seizing up into a clumpy blob when water is added later on. And from there, just add everything else, stir, Cover tightly and leave everything to dissolve and the xanthan gum to swell and thicken. Once the mixture is uniform, it's time to check the pH to ensure it's in a good place for our skin and the preservative. We want it to be in the 4.5 to 5.5 range. Every time I've made this formulation, it has landed in the 5.1 to 5.4 range, so if you've made it without any changes and you don't have a pH meter yet to check the pH yourself, it should be fine. Bottle the serum up. I'm using 4 50-milliliter bottles with treatment pump caps from Humblebee, but you could also use bottles with like eyedroppers or some other sort of orifice reducing cap. Any little bubbles will work their way out of the serum with a bit of time, leaving you with a crystal clear serum, unless you left out the PEG-8 Dimethicone. If you find yourself plagued with cloudy serums and room sprays, make sure you check out my free Formulation Fixes cheat sheet. It's linked in the description box below and has tons of fixes for common formulation problems, including cloudy, watery things like serums and room sprays. Use the serum after cleansing and then follow up with some sort of facial lotion, cream, or oil serum. I've been using this gentle cleanser for over 2 years now, and I love it. So if you are in the market for a DIY cleanser, you'll definitely want to watch that video next. Happy making!